Hello, guys, and welcome in to the Yankee and the Brit podcast. It is draft day in the NFL, and I'm going to be doing a solo show because mine and Jay's timetables just aren't lining up today. I'm going to do a solo show about tonight's NFL draft before then me and Jay review it tomorrow. So we're going to be reviewing the first day of the draft tomorrow and looking ahead to the second round. So come in and join us tomorrow ahead of the draft as well. But make sure to keep watching this video and subscribe, and hit the notification button for anything that we create on the Yankee and the Brit channel. Today, I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. The Dallas Cowboys have got 2 first-round picks and therefore actually have the ability to make moves in this draft. So we're going to be talking Dallas Cowboys. Then we're going to be talking about the big news of sexy Dexter Lawrence's trade to the Cincinnati Bengals from the New York Giants as well, before looking at A.J. Brown to the Patriots. Those rumors still swirling around. How hasn't that deal got done yet? It's the deal that seems to make the most sense. So A.J. Brown to the Patriots, a classic win-win-win for everybody involved, and even maybe a 4th win, but we'll talk about that later on. And finally, rounding off with, should you draft a running back in the first round? Jeremy Love, Jamal Love, Jeremiah Love. Why did I give that 3 attempts there? But Jeremiah Love is touted to be one of the best players in the draft. But at the running back position, does it really make sense for people to draft him in the first round? Let's have a look at who should draft Love and whether he's worth a first-round pick. But starting off with my Dallas Cowboys, America's team, the team that you all want to hear about, the team you love to hate. They have ammunition in the first round with the 12th pick in the NFL draft and the 20th pick in the NFL draft. And Mel Kiper has them trading up with the Arizona Cardinals up to 3rd to get Arval Reese, the edge from the edge in college. Now, Mel Kiper has them trading up to do that because everybody has been saying that the Dallas Cowboys desperately need a edge. And I don't think that was the actual problem for the Dallas Cowboys this year. It doesn't make sense to me, this going out for the edge position. They have such a stacked roster at D tackle now, the Dallas Cowboys, with Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark. Unfortunately, Odighizuwa had to leave, but that did make sense with the kind of wage bill that you were given to one position. But with Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark, we have the run stuffer and we have the pressure up the middle. And with pressure up the middle, that's the thing that the quarterback hates the most. When you have Ezeraku on the edge and then whoever you have on the other side, Clowney was there last year, you have the ability to get pressure up the middle. Ezeraku going into his second year is going to look even better. He was one of the most underrated rookies, I thought, last year across all NFL teams. And he'll vastly improve going into this next year. And not to mention, with 2 picks in the first round draft, you can get an edge with the 20th pick of the draft. And you can fix our actual need at 12th in the draft. Or you can move up to make sure you fix it in the best possible way. But you don't need to move all the way up to 3rd and give away all the ammunition that you have. So for me, the Dallas Cowboys' biggest issue that they had was no leader in that linebacker core, no leader in the safety. The spine of the team was missing after that defensive line. And you don't have the leader that was making the plays, which meant coverage was blown, which meant runs turned into bigger runs. And it just made it meant the defensive line had to get to the quarterback basically within a split second of time. And that just isn't realistically going to happen every single down. So for me, the Dallas Cowboys have to stay at 12. And if Caleb Downs forced them at 12, it will be the perfect pick. Caleb Downs is that Nico Mamwari style, bit smaller than Nico Mamwari, but can play any position, whether that's safety, cornerback, can move down into linebacker as well. That Kyle Hamilton, that defensive player, that positionless defense that the NFL is looking for right now. And Caleb Downs is able to do that. So he's the guy that you have to walk away with in this draft. And if you're moving up to go get him and you move past Let's see who they would have to move past. They might have to move past the Giants in 10. They might have to move past the Chiefs at 9 and the Dolphins at 11. If you can go up to the Saints and you could get a decent deal worked out to move up to 8, to jump 9, 10, and 11 in order to walk away with Caleb Downs, then okay, I can hear that, because Caleb Downs is the kind of guy that will change the Dallas Cowboys defense with his immediate leadership, his positionless defense. But if you can't get that deal worked out, and to move up that many places, how much are you willing to give up? I think, keeping our 2 first-round picks this year is great for us. This is a year where we should be pushing, and it's a year where we need to fix our defense immediately. And actually, it's a year where we don't have that many holes to fix, because our offense is so good on the other side of the ball that it makes sense to me to maybe leverage next year's picks to move up to go get Caleb Downs this year and keep our 20th draft pick as well. And the Saints, they're a completely rebuilding team. They'll pick at 12, and then they'll get picks next year as well. So for the Saints, they just need best player available. They have so many holes to fix. It's not a good draft year really for those type of players. And when you're in a rebuild, you're trying to rebuild those. We can give them our 3rd overall pick as well. Like you're trying to rebuild with 2nd overall picks, 3rd overall picks, and then you go get your blue chip players. So that move would make sense to me. But if you can't get a deal worked out and you're without getting completely fleeced, then Monsoon Delane, who is the best cornerback in the draft, and again, we were terrible at cornerback last year. The best cornerback in the draft, Monsoon Delane, will hopefully be there at 12. He will also fall to 12. Let players come to you. It's what the Eagles do year after year after year. And we sit reviewing the draft just jealous of the Eagles being able to just wait for guys to fall to them every single year. So Monsoon Delane should fall to them, the best cornerback in the draft as well. There's no need to go up and get the edge and leverage all of our stuff. Interestingly, Jerry Jones has come out and said they're taking trade offers. They're looking at all things on the table. They've got offers for teams wanting to move up, and so they could move down. That's not terrible either, I don't think. If Caleb Downs isn't there, then we move back from the 12th and we kind of rebuild our edge from the lower sides of the edge. I don't need those blue chip edge players currently. It's not what we need, because we build from the inside to out. So, it would really boost our picks. We don't have those 2nd round picks because of the Quinnen Williams trade. We also moved back in the 3rd round because of the George Pickens trade as well. So it would give us that ammunition later in the draft to go get those better value players. Talking about George Pickens, we also have the fact that George Pickens will not be franchise tag, has been franchise tag, and will not be offered a longer contract this season, coming out from Stephen Jones. Now, that throws up a couple of questions here. So with George Pickens, we obviously have the fact he's been franchise tag, and that means we have him for next year, which is great. It means our offense is going to be outstanding like it was last year, and him and Dak had that connection, and it was great to watch. And the Dallas Cowboys can play excellent offense with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. It also makes sense not to offer him a long-term deal. We saw what happened in Cincinnati when you give T. Higgins and Jamar Chase huge deals, and George Pickens deserves that huge deal. But we can't have 2 wide receivers on those massive deals and be able to revitalize our defense and be able to, be able to play the players that are playing well on the offensive side of the ball as well. Like our offensive line is basically all coming up on due a big payday. So I think the Dallas Cowboys will have George Pickens for this year, and then he'll move on in the next year. I think that's what is going to happen, because you can't really do that with 2 wide receivers, especially with so many great wide receivers coming out of college. So George Pickens will go and he'll make another team excellent as well, outside of George Pickens being by far better than CeeDee Lamb. And then maybe we could look into trading CeeDee Lamb and keeping George Pickens. We have to do one or the other. And finally, rounding off with the best kicker in the NFL, and possibly going to be one of the best kickers in NFL history, Brandon Aubrey, getting a $28 million deal for 4 years at the Dallas Cowboys, with $20 million of that guaranteed. Brandon Aubrey is a kicker, which obviously is a low value position, but the way Brandon Aubrey kicks wins the Dallas Cowboys games. The way the Dallas Cowboys offense is able to move and put up big points is because they know if they get within 60 yards of those posts, then Brandon Aubrey can kick it over. So you can just keep those scoreboards ticking over. We talk about it in rugby a lot. It's just getting the scoreboard ticking over. It just means that your your offense is never standing still. It's never giving their offense a chance to rest, and you just build up those points on the unsuccessful drives where you don't get a TD. Brandon Aubrey is a game winner because you end up within the last bits of the game. You only need to get within 60 yards for Brandon Aubrey to win you a game-winning kick. So a good deal there for a game winner, Brandon Aubrey, $28 million a year. I'm glad that deal has got done. Talking of other deals ahead of tonight's draft, we have the Dexter Lawrence deal going from the New York Giants to the Cincinnati Bengals for a first-round pick. This deal makes so much sense to everyone. A classic win-win for both teams. Maybe not Dexter Lawrence. He has to go play in Cincinnati, but he may be closer to winning a Super Bowl in Cincinnati. Maybe we'll see how the Giants rebuild is going. But Dexter Lawrence did not fit the Giants' timeline. The Giants are not going to win the Super Bowl next year. They're not going to be challenging for the Super Bowl the year after. I do have them maybe as one of the teams to go from worst to first this year, but that's a long shot. And it's not necessarily Dexter Lawrence that is going to get them there. So Dexter Lawrence is demanding huge money. He wants to be that guy, highest paid defensive tackle in the league, and all of that kind of stuff as well. And that is not what the New York Giants need. The New York Giants need to get younger and cheaper on defense. No team, I think on average, the team that wins the Super Bowl has about the 10th cheapest defense in the league. The Seattle Seahawks, winners of the Super Bowl last year, not paying loads of money for their defense. So the Giants having a stacked defensive line, but all older players who are making big paychecks, does not work for them. So they are able to get cheaper now with a first round pick, and it gives them ammunition going into the first round as well, allows them to move up and down. They've now got They've now got the 5th and the 10th, so 2 picks in the top 10. They can really do whatever they want from that position. They can go get, let's say, Sonny Styles as the linebacker. They can also get Caleb Downs, which I'll also be upset about if they get Caleb Downs at 10. But they could do that. They can move up and go get Arvell Reese, although Sonny Styles in a combination of Caleb Downs would be interesting. Or what they should really do is go get an offensive tackle at that number 10 now. Yes, they look set at offensive tackle, but when you have young Jackson Dart back there, you're trying to protect him as much as possible, and they have injury problems at the right tackle, but they can also fix their interior offensive line. They can also move back from that 10th position and get some extra value to fix the interior offensive line. There are some great centers in this draft that they should be perhaps looking at as well. And then for the Cincinnati Bengals, there is no better defensive player available in the first round for the Cincinnati Bengals than Dexter Lawrence. They were picking at 10. Obviously, I think Caleb Downs is great. They would be able to get at 10. Monsoon as well Monsoon Delane would also be good for them to take at 10, a 10th overall pick. But what fixes this Bengals problem is getting some pressure up the middle. And Dexter Lawrence, although he had a down year last year, will be able to do that for the Cincinnati Bengals. It also is a very un-Bengals-like move to go out and pay loads of money and loads of draft capital for a defensive player. That is not what the Bengals have done, but they are showing Joe Burrow, their franchise cornerstone, that they are willing to make things better for him and make things better for the team. They needed this player. They needed this big move. It's even more about the optics as much as it's about the actual player that they've gone and got. And then another potential trade before the deadline, we have A.J. Brown to the New England Patriots. I can't believe that this move hasn't happened yet. And Adam Schefter says it is likely. We'll be looking out for that today ahead of the draft. A first overall pick for A.J. Brown to the Patriots for me is a win, 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 and possibly a win depending on where you're drafting in your fantasy football league as well. So 4 wins there potentially for people. But for the Pats, they have a good young offense. They obviously got to the they obviously played ridiculously well last year, getting to the Super Bowl, and they have a really interesting offense as well in the way that it was set up with a lot of deep ball stuff, and Drake May just looking absolutely outstanding for huge periods of the year. But adding AJ Brown would be the perfect wide receiver for that system, an experienced wide receiver, big target for Drake May, behind a still sometimes shaky offensive line, but big target for Drake May and a deep threat. AJ Brown will be kicking himself at the fact of his NFL career so far. I mean, he's a Super Bowl champion, but you know what wide receivers can be like. He's got less targets than a lot lesser known names in the NFL during his NFL career. So the fact that he hasn't been targeted as much, his usage is down. He's obviously frustrated by the way that the Eagles were running their their offensive positions as well, and frustrated at Jalen Hurts too. This is a good move for AJ Brown, and it's a good move for the Patriots. AJ Brown gets to go back to Vrabel, who looked like he was visibly crying when the Tennessee Titans traded AJ Brown on draft night when Vrabel was the Titans head coach as well. Also, the way that this fits in with your fantasy football team, if you are drafting and AJ Brown is on the board, it'll be great for me. I've always had AJ Brown available, but I refuse to draft Eagles players because I just can't stand the Eagles. So it's good for me to be able to pick AJ Brown. But his usage, I think, will go through the roof, and it'll be on deep routes, it'll be on touchdown throws, huge fantasy football implications for AJ Brown fans there as well. And it wouldn't be a trade in the NFL if Howie Roseman wasn't also winning. This would be a good trade for the Eagles as well. If they take the Patriots a first round pick, they will get a pick at number 31, which is obviously a lower pick, but it's still a first round pick. Would it surprise you if Howie Roseman manages to leverage that into several second round picks from there as well? In Howie Roseman, all Eagle fans should trust. He will know that he will get good value for AJ Brown, and what AJ Brown is able to give to the Eagles wasn't that much. The Eagles weren't utilizing him as much as they should have been, and he was causing so much noise around the team. Every single press conference was about AJ Brown. Every single news story was about AJ Brown, and it still is, which is why we're talking about it right now. Get him out of the building. I know the Eagles like that kind of chaos, that us against the world, plenty of noise around, but it got silly last year, the amount of noise around the Eagles, and that's why they started to struggle. As well as that, they also traded for Dontavion Wicks, who is a really good fit for their offensive mindset. To have Devontae Smith, Dontavion Wicks, that's a really good fit for their run-first mindset, their possession-based offense, and it's kind of a static offense as well. It's a good fit. There's no need to contribute, like to have so much tied up in the wide receiver position in the way that they play football. So I think it is a win. In terms of the Patriots, it would be a win in terms of the Eagles. It would be a win in terms of AJ Brown, and it will be a win for any fantasy football owner who is able to pick up AJ Brown as well. A win, 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 win. There you go. And finally, before I head off, we should talk about the running back position and Jameer Love. He's outstanding. He's an incredible football player. His highlight reel is ridiculous. He's possibly the best player available in this draft. But he is a running back. And the running back is a position that can win you Super Bowls, but only if you have everything else sorted out around him. It's the only way that you're able to win Super Bowls with running backs. Everybody will look at Saquon Barkley with the Eagles. Yes, but the Eagles had one of the best offensive lines in the league. They're one of the best defenses in the league. Look what happened when their offensive line and defense took a step back this year. Saquon Barkley wasn't as effective. Like, giving up that draft capital, giving up Bijan Robinson, the Falcons pick him really high, 7, I think. And he hasn't been able to go on, and he's been amazing, but it hasn't actually helped the Falcons that much. Like, he's been incredible, one of the best running backs in the league, but it doesn't help the Falcons that much. And that is what will happen if Jameer Love goes to the Arizona Cardinals at 3. That would be insane. The Tennessee Titans at 4. That would be insane. These teams that are thinking of picking him, you have so many holes, so many other things you need fixed before you put the running back in there. is crazy. The Browns would be mad to take him with their running back thing. Now, the Giants are an interesting one because they essentially have a free second-round pick, and they're kind of building things up as well. So the Giants could make sense. But for me, the option that makes the most sense, because the Chiefs have too many issues, Tampa are desperate for pass rush, Washington needs to get younger across all their key positions. So the Giants are the only one that maybe fits in there, but only because they have 2 first-round picks. For me, I'm sure Jay will be happy to hear this, but the Vikings at 18 are the first team that makes sense for me. So Love should be dropping to 18. Vikings are set in their offensive line. It could do with some more depth, but it's good. Their defense, again, could do with getting a bit younger, but it's good. But if they add Love in at running back, that offense will go crazy. Okay, guys, enjoy tonight's NFL draft. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the like and subscribe button. And thank you so much for joining me on the show today. And we will talk to you after the first round of the NFL draft. I hope you all remember that we don't know anything about these players until they actually play in the NFL. So try not to get too depressed if your team doesn't pick the player that you want, because we have no idea what these players are going to look like until they hit the NFL. So thank you so much, guys. Chat to you soon. What do I normally say? Oh, yeah. Cheerio.
Yo, from the gridiron to the pitch, that's the main switch. I'm breaking down the blitz. You're checking stats in it. He calls it a proper field goal.